What is up, everyone? Today we're taking a look at an epic set of battles between two of Europe's best battlers, TonTonBatteuse and P4T0M4N. This is in the grand finals of the Gdansk regional championships, which means there's a lot at stake here. The winner goes home with $2,500 and an invite to the 2024 World Championships in Hawaii. So there's a lot on the line. These battles are going to be amazing, but before we get started, I just want to give you a brief history on both of these competitors, and to do that, we're heading over to my favorite website for anything play Pokemon Go, DracoViz. This video is not sponsored at all, by the way. I just really like this website. I want to show you it. They got anything play Pokemon Go on there, like the event schedule of future and past events, the qualified teams for this season. And for you Go Battle Leaguers out here, Go Battle League teams as well. They make a lot of these graphics. So if you're looking for Go Battle League teams, definitely go check them out too. My favorite feature though is the player profile function, which is pretty much just a huge database of anyone that has ever gone to a play Pokemon tournament and anyone that's ever appeared on the Go Battle League leaderboard. So we can check out TonTon's record here. This is his play Pokemon stuff. You can even check out like the Go Battle League accomplishments here, but I'm more interested in the play Pokemon stuff, and as you can see, he is super accomplished. He is the 2023 European International Champion. He has top cut several times in other regionals as well. 9th at Worlds, so TonTon is an extremely great player. Unfortunately, recently he hasn't been doing that well, only placing 49th in Barcelona and Lille this season, but in the Gdansk, he's making a comeback, and he made it all the way to the grand finals. Or other competitor P4T0M4N is probably just as accomplished, hasn't done as many tournaments, but his placements have been absolutely insane. He was 17th at Worlds, which is super impressive, but what I find even more impressive is that in all 3 regionals he has participated in, he has managed to make it into the grand finals. Before Gdansk, he went to Liverpool, where he finished 2nd. Then he went to Barcelona, where he finished 2nd too. And now he's in the grand finals in Gdansk, hoping to finally be the champion. Since P4T0M4N is coming from a loser's bracket and TonTon is still undefeated, P4T0M4N has to beat TonTon in 2 consecutive best of 5s to make that happen though. TonTon was actually the player to knock P4T0M4N down into the loser's bracket earlier on in the tournament during the winners finals. So this is pretty much a rematch already. TonTon, by the way, running a team of Deoxys, Umbreon, Clefable, Arctibax, Gligar, and Seeking, a Pokemon Leaf. I actually seen him use a little bit during the tournament, but it hasn't been super impressive. And P4T0M4N running that Alolan Ninetales, Venusaur, Medicham, Umbreon, Lickitung, and Gligar. Both trainers have their respective fairy type, and I expect both to be used very, very often, because TonTon doesn't really have a real Alolan Ninetales answer besides like super effective poison jabs from the Seeking, but like that doesn't even do that much. Like Charm does just about as much as poison jabs from Seeking do, so it's not really that great there. And TonTon really only has Venusaur as P4T0M4N only has a Venusaur for as an answer for TonTon's Clefable, which the Venusaur itself doesn't look too great versus the rest of TonTon's team, so we might not see that at all. Anyway, we're gonna head in. This is actually game 2 of the grand finals here, but game 1 kind of lagged out, so they gave a rematch, and they're basically starting over here with game number 1 pretty much. And we see Alolan Ninetales into the Deoxys defense here. I would think that this is definitely where TonTon wants to see the Alolan Ninetales. Deoxys definitely has a play here, and he also has the Arctibax in the back, which really doesn't want to see Alolan Ninetales. So TonTon in a decent spot there, but Alolan Ninetales is quite fine here, especially since this Deoxys, oh by the way, I'm gonna put this at 1.5 times speed because it's just a little quicker. Deoxys does, I think, get 2 shoot from down here. Ooh, actually P4T0M4N is going to switch into Gligar, and TonTon can respond with the Arctibax. A little bit of energy on the Gligar should make this an okay-ish matchup, especially since P4T0M4N has shielded the correct attack here, shielding the Avalanche, wasting a lot of energy of that Arctibax pretty much. TonTon now letting its Arctibax take this dig. Pato-Man going straight for another area waste. Could have overfarmed a little bit there, but probably didn't want to take the Dragon Breath damage. I'm pretty sure it should still be out of range for a Psycho Boost now. So TonTon comes in with Clefable instead. TonTon all tournament has really been loving this Clefable, saving shields for it, and it's really worked out well for him so far. With Licky Tongue on the opposing side though, that's a little rough, because even with energy, you're gonna need 2 Moonblasts to knock it out. So this Licky Tongue will likely... Oh, actually, he gets to another? Oh... TonTon overfarmed. Makes sense, because the Moonblast would not knock out yet, so you might as well overfarm until it does. Keep in mind, Pato-Man also still has a Gligar in the back, so Clefable is really going to have to put in a ton of work here. Alright, Clefable farms down the Licky Tongue. Can it sweep this team? I think the Deoxys still has an attack loaded too, or is at least kind of close. Out comes Alola Ninetales now. TonTon opts to throw the Meteor Mash immediately. Wants to get rid of it before it can get in more charm damage. Out comes Gligar now. TonTon has a Psycho Boost loaded. Yeah, I think this knocks out, right? If it doesn't, the counters following will. And they do, and TonTon takes game number 1. That Clefable, again, just putting in so much work like it has been doing all tournament. Next match, absolutely awful lead for TonTon. Umbreon into the Alola Ninetales. After doing 1 Snarl, he switches into Gligar, even though this is an ice versus a ground flying type, because it's a Charm Alola Ninetales. Gligar actually has a surprisingly reasonable matchup here, but you do have to shield up those weather balls, of course, so one of them would knock you out. He's gonna go for the dig now, and Pato is gonna bring in his own Gligar. He's done enough chip damage with this Alola Ninetales now to where his own Gligar should be able to beat TonTon's Gligar, maintain switch advantage, and get everything aligned the way he wants it to. TonTon wins the charge attack priority here versus Pato-Man's Gligar. That's definitely good information to know, especially for later games, because TonTon now knows he can always throw the charge attack priority, doesn't have to throw it one before. That area from Pato-Man did not knock out, but is able to get the farm down there, and will now be able to fire off a couple digs versus this Umbreon. First dig coming through, does a good chunk. Umbreon gonna fire off the foul play now before Pato is able to throw another attack, opting to keep some HP on that Umbreon. Now brings in Clefable, but gets answered by the Venusaur. Pato completely calling TonTon's lineup there. Just absolutely brilliant a read by him. Clefable still has some players. You can see a Meteor Mash does a ton. Slush Bomb will definitely knock out though, and I don't think TonTon will be able to get the 2 Meteor Mashes before the next Sludge. No, definitely not. Another Meteor Mash coming out. Maybe if it can catch a Sludge Bomb on Umbreon, this is possible, but the timer is not up. Pato only has to go for a Frenzy as well. This Frenzy will knock out the Clefable. Bye-bye. And then Umbreon will get knocked out by the Alola Ninetales later on as well. I'm just going to speed this one up because there's a Frenzy coming through. And then, yeah, he just gets charmed down. So GG. Game number 3, we got Arctibax into Gligar. Even though Arctibax is an Ice type with 2 shields on Gligar's side, this is definitely not over, as the Dragon Breaths, of course, are only doing a neutral. Pato-Man hits the dig. This actually means that if he wants, he can win the 2 shields now. If he can shield both of the Arctibax attacks now. Shields at the first, good shield, as this is the double super effective Avalanche. And now, whoa, actually switching into the Alola Ninetales, trying to get a charm down on the Arctibax. TonTon with the quick reflexes though, is able to switch out into the Yox defense before the charm hits. Now able to fire off a Thunderbolt. Pato-Man opts to let it go, doesn't want to go 2 shields down. Goes for the Weather Ball now. TonTon has a decision to make here, and he does shield it up. Is he able to farm this Alola Ninetales down now, though? If he can, that's big. He can. He comes out of here with a good amount of energy. Out comes Gligar now. The Yoke is going to go for the Psycho Boost. Gligar's still quite healthy, though. This will not knock it out yet, and it doesn't. Not able to farm out the Yokus either though. Pato-Man with the perfect counting. Throwing the area waste right on the charge attack priority. TonTon lets it go. Wants to keep shields for Seeking and Arctibax. Because of that incredible counting by Pato-Man, he's now able to get to another area waste for the Arctibax. Taking the final shield from TonTon. And has the Lickitung in the back. And there's a Seeking in the back of TonTon. So that's not looking too good for Seeking. Oh, actually lets the Avalanche go through. Which might change the tides of this game. But Power Whip gets fired right before TonTon is able to reach the Icy Wind. If he was able to reach the Icy Wind before the Power Whip, that this might have still been possible, because then, well, the Power Whip is debuffed before it's fired. but now because that power just did too much and the Seeking gets farmed down before it's able to get to another attack, and the body slam can take out the Arctibax. Very well played there by P4T0M4N. GG's. Next match, we see the Deoxys into P4T0M4N's Venusaur. This is a pretty awkward matchup, I would say. This is actually, I found it very interesting that P4T0M4N was running a regular Venusaur over a Shadow, but this is one of the matchups where it's kind of nice, because the Psycho Boost doesn't even knock you out yet. P4T0M4N could have still let that go, because it would not knock out, but opts to shield it, because now the Deoxys is debuffed, and this next Psycho Boost will do very, well, I wouldn't say little, but much less than it would have prior. Yeah, Venusaur easily takes that. TonTon now switching into Gligar. Venusaur already has a Frenzy loaded though, and even though it's only neutral, it will do a ton to Gligar still. So TonTon decides to shoot it up. Pato bringing in the Lickitung now versus regular Gligar. This is a pretty positive matchup for Lickitung. The Gligar did have a little bit of an energy lead though. I don't know if that changes anything. I guess we'll see. First Body Slam comes through from the Lickitung now, and you should be able to get to another one. No before TonTon fires off an attack here though. Gonna go for the Aerial Ace. Yeah, one dig would not be enough yet. So TonTon opts to go for double Aerial Ace instead. And I think that's pretty smart. Pato able to fire off a Body Slam before TonTon fires off the Aerial Ace though, and gets knocked out. And maybe a dig would have been a better play from TonTon, just because then you get that little bit of extra guaranteed damage in. Whereas now, like, the Lickitung is still way too healthy. Gligar comes in from P4T0M4N now to answer the Umbreon. This is a pretty even matchup, generally in favor of the Umbreon though. But Umbreon already took a Body Slam of damage, so that pretty much brings the Umbreon into range for double dig with wing attacks. Or maybe dig plus double Aerial Ace, which probably makes this matchup a little better. TonTon going for the Last Resort. Important to note, Last Resort is a little higher damage than Foul Play is. And I guess TonTon thought that double foul play would not be enough, but Foul Play Last Resort would be. And I think he may be right, because this Foul Play should be able to knock out the Gligar now. It does, but it's all up to Deoxys, and this might just be a little bit too much to do for Deoxys, and it is, because he just gets farmed down by Vimeps and Licks. And P4T0M4N takes game number 3 in the first best of 5, and that means he resets the bracket. And it's gonna go down to another best of 5 between these two to decide the champion of this tournament. In game number 1 of the bracket reset, we see a familiar lead with Alolan Ninetales versus Deoxys defense. I'm pretty sure it's the same as we saw in game number 1 of the first best of 5. TonTon again gonna go for the Thunderbolt. P4T0M4N shields it up, gonna go for the Weather Ball. TonTon opting to let it go this time. Interesting, saving shields for whatever he has in the back, but is not able to get to the Psychic Boost. That is just, that is really bad for TonTon. Brings in the Clefable now versus the Alolan Ninetales. Is at the very least happy that Arctibax is able to avoid the Alolan Ninetales, but never mind. P4T0M4N shields it, or saves it, by switching into the Lickitung. TonTon responds with a Moonblast and a switch into Arctibax. It's looking rough for TonTon now though. This is a pretty reasonable matchup for Arctibax. Will likely be able to win here. But then you got the Alolan Ninetales on your Arctibax, and you need your Clefable to pretty much sweep, which it's just not gonna happen unless it's Umbreon from P4T0M4N in the back. But we already know the backline, and it's not Umbreon. P4T0M4N actually gets another Body Slam. I do like what TonTon decided or tried to do there by farming down the Lickitung. It may have been his only win condition, but unfortunately Lickitung was able to get another Body Slam, which knocked out the Arctibax, and now it's all up to Clefable, and TonTon knows it's just too much for Clefable to do, so decides to pretty much concede the game and let P4T0M4N farm him down. Next game, great lead for TonTon with his Umbreon into the Lickitung. We see again the Seeking in the back. It might actually have play into P4T0M4N's back line. In this lead, Lickitung actually loses, so if TonTon can get the alignment he likes, should be looking pretty alright. P4T0M4N deciding to stay in, even though it's a losing lead here. Probably just gonna go for a little bit of chip on this Umbreon before dipping out, which I do think makes sense. TonTon throwing another foul play here. P4T0M4N, yes, switches out into Gligar. Now that the Umbreon has been brought into a range where the Gligar can likely take care of this Umbreon. TonTon gonna go for the foul play. Gligar with energy is a bit of an issue for TonTon's back line. Like if the Gligar has like no energy, then Seeking does okay into it because you can Icy Wind. But now with energy, Seeking will have a lot of trouble. So TonTon has to stay in there. Again, he went for that last resort just because it does a little more damage than the foul play. And this brings it into a range for another last resort, I think. Yeah, he's going for that. Patoman opts to let it go. Does not knock out, but will put it into range where one fast attack from whatever's in the back will knock out. So that's pretty fine. In comes the Deoxys defense. I like this call from TonTon a lot, because the way Deoxys defense is played best is when you can switch out with it. So bringing it in here means you can just farm up 3 more counters, throw the Psycho Boost, and then dip out to clear the debuff. Or even just, at this point, you probably don't want to bring your Seeking to Lickitung anyway. So you might just consider staying with Deoxys as well. Out comes Alolan Ninetales now. I wish we saw a Psycho Boost from the Deoxys defense there. I feel like that would have set up TonTon a little better, because then you already burn a shield. Now he brings in Seeking, goes for an Icy Wind immediately. Probably has to shield up this attack, and that he does. As you can see, those charms, neutral charms, are doing just as much as powder of poison jabs though, which is just crazy. Can he get the farm down? No, it was a tie. That's crazy, dude. That's neutral attacks for super effective attacks, and it's a tie. That's wild. TonTon still able to get enough energy here though to fire off 2 Psycho Boosts in a row. Patoman knows he's there, so let's the first one go. GG. Next match, we see a pretty even lead with the Gligar into the Charm Alolan and Ninetales, because these charms are going to do neutral. Gligar has an okay matchup here, but they're doing a ton. They're doing a ton. This is a better matchup than versus Powders though, but it's definitely still not a good matchup, especially with shields on the Alolan Ninetales side. TonTon tries to go for a dig, but it gets shielded by Patoman here, and Patoman fires off a charge attack of his own now in the Weather Ball. TonTon gonna go for another dig. Wow, this Alolan Ninetales is shielding again. Wow, that puts TonTon in a pretty bad spot, as he has to bring in the Deoxys here now. But Pato, yeah, he can just switch out. Pato can just switch out into Lickitung, and this puts TonTon into such an awkward position. Like, what do you do here? Like, you can switch it to Octopax, but you know your Octopax just gonna get a line to the Alolan Ninetales later. Or you stay in, which just means your Octopax is still gonna get a line to the Alolan Ninetales later. Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. He decided to switch out after throwing a Psycho Boost, which I think does make sense. Do some damage from the Lickitung. Now make your Octopax able to nearly farm it down. Ooh, you're still gonna have to fire an attack though. Yeah, he's gonna have to shield to farm this down. Then has an Avalanche loaded for the Alolan Ninetales. If the Avalanche can knock out, that might be okay. Oh, wow, he goes for the Weather Ball snipe on the Octopax, and this definitely puts a nail into the coffin here. Because at this point, he is a full health Gligar too. TonTon has to waste a full attack on this Alolan Ninetales to knock it out, and then Gligar is looking set up to just aerial ace this down, most likely. Yeah, gonna go for the aerial ace. TonTon knows it's over. This is gonna go through. And Patoman takes game number 3, now 1 game away from getting that championship victory. And in this matchup, we see Gligar versus Alolan Ninetales once again. Previously, TonTon opted to go double dig into the Alolan Ninetales, but I think he's learned this time. Gonna go for the aerial ace. Does get a shield bait here, which is just big. I don't know if Gligar reaches 3 aerial aces here though. I mean, if you do, you're in a decent position as TonTon, but if you don't, that's still just really, really bad. Wow, Pato deciding to switch in Gligar this time instead of staying in with the Alolan Ninetales. TonTon just throws the aerial ace into that, then switches into Clefable. This Gligar is now pretty much in range where a Moonblast should knock out with some Fairy Winds, right? Oh, it's gonna be a lot of Fairy Winds though. Ooh, Attack Drop! Attack Drop on the Gligar. This could be big. This might mean that the Clefable can take 2 digs now and fast attack it down. Yeah, he should be able to take the second dig and take switch advantage. That could be huge. Does take switch advantage, but there's still almost a full HP Licky and A9 on the Patoman's side. Doesn't even get over charge attack versus Licky. Gets licked down by it. Now brings it to the Deoxys. This is a pretty even matchup. I think the Gligar still has some energy. Not a lot though. This is very little energy. TonTon gonna go for the Thunderbolt here. To do a reasonable chunk versus the Lickitung, but not enough to where he can counter down. In comes the Gligar now. wants to get off some energy here. This aerial ace does not knock out the Licky Tongue Patoman. Now able to switch out into the Alola Ninetales, charms down the Gligar, and should now be able to charm down the Deoxys defense as well. Yeah, Tonton knows it's over. Patoman is already cheering, and Patoman takes the win. Wow. GG's to Pato there. Finally, after his third grand finals, managing to win one, which is just, it's just so deserved. So epic to see. Yeah, he's so happy. This was just such a cool moment. Anyway, yeah, congrats to Patoman there for a deserved victory. And I hope everyone watching enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for checking it out. Hope to see you in the next one. And good luck with your battles, trainers.